Okay, first thing I want to mention, and this will tie into my thoughts. Uh, when the when chapter 574 was just, not unofficial yet, it was still being confirmed, spoilers came out, and everyone says, nah, it has to be fake. And the whole reason they thought it was fake was because Ace dies in this chapter. And there's a pretty big rule when it comes to Oda in One Piece. He doesn't like to put death in manga or anime or what have you. He doesn't like death where it's used to cheaply gain emotion from readers or fans. And seeing how he's a fan of Dragon Ball, which uses the Dragon Balls constantly to bring people back to life, I can pretty much see where he's coming from. I can understand that completely. He doesn't want to jip his readers out like that, which I respect him for. So, when it comes out that it's official, I see a couple of people on forums and things like that say, oh my god, someone died in One Piece. That means no one's safe. Everyone's it's gonna be a massive slaughter fest. And I'm thinking to myself while I'm looking at this, are you people kidding me? I mean, remember what I just said about Oda finding that type of death to be incredibly cheap? That leads me to believe that, yeah, sure, it's a death scene, and not only that, but it's one of the most popular characters outside the Straw Hat crew. I mean, heck, the only reason Ace got a longer appearance in the anime was because fans were disappointed with his short appearance in the manga. And he had tons of fans. I mean, look at fan websites and everything, and you will find loads of Ace fan art, fan fiction, what have you. But with all of this, and with how Oda is, and given who this was that died, I have reason to believe, and very good reason to believe, that Oda killed Ace off for an exceptionally good reason. And here's what I think is possibly going to happen. This is a theory. Like many things like this is a theory. And this is my theory of what I think is the whole thing of this thing. I think, because of everything we've seen so far in the past, and not to mention the cover stories relating to the Straw Hats while they're all separated, I think this is going to be a moment where Luffy grows, both as a character, as a captain, and a leader. I think this is going to be Luffy's moment to grow. Abed, this is a very depressing situation in which this comes forth, but this seems to be a time where Luffy is going to develop his character. Now, I'm not saying that he hasn't had character development before, because we have seen him grow from constantly goofy to being more serious when he needs to be. He has gotten more like that than he has at the beginning. I mean, check out the very first volume of One Piece and then reread how he's been in the last few chapters. It is somewhat of a difference, but not a whole lot. And then look at what he's been going through for the last few chapters. And then compare them to the fights they had in the way back when they were in East Blue, and even the beginning of the Grand Line. The fights with the Straw Hats and their enemies at the very beginning of the whole thing were as if they were a big fish in a small pond. Now it seems like they're floundering somewhat, and the whole thing that happened at Shenbo Iagapego was a major disaster. It was their first major defeat as a crew, and Luffy has suffered his first major defeat at rescuing someone, and it happened to be his brother, and his brother died protecting him. I think Luffy's probably blaming himself for a hell of a whole lot even before Ace died. I mean, look at what happened at Chego Iagapego. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name of the place. I can't figure out how the proper pronunciation is. I mean, he's trying to save his crew from getting, sent away by Kuma, and at this time he thinks they're dead. until he lands on Amazon Lily later and thinks, oh, I'm okay, the others must be okay, so I better hurry up and head back. But before that, he's trying to save everyone from being sent away by Kuma, and the whole time he's just getting swatted around like a fly. The same goes for the rest of his crew, especially Zoro, who is severely injured protecting Luffy on Thriller Bark, which I also believe is going to be a major thing towards Luffy's character development, which will either happen after this whole thing with Ace is over, or when he finally reunites with his crew. Or probably developing all along that time. I can't really think of when it'll be. The whole thing right now is just a little bit confusing, judging by how much is going just is affected by this right now. But anyway, not only that, when we finally see him on Shemboyaga Pego, he starts flashback into the fight, obviously upset, and in the anime, I think it's only in the anime, please correct me if I'm wrong, he calls his crew's names out while he's asleep on the boat on his way to Empel Down to try and save Ace. I mean, he probably just blames himself for a whole lot, especially since when his crew was sent away, he, is basically in hysterics, saying to himself, what the hell is wrong with me? I can't even save one of my crew. And one of the flashbacks, which was, one of the most spooky parts of when the crew was being sent away, was of Nami reaching her hand out, asking for help before being sent away. And she had a terrified look on her face. And meanwhile, Luffy can do nothing but just watch because he's too terribly hurt to really do anything after being smacked around. So yeah, I think this is going to be a time where Luffy really develops as a character. And a side note on this, I hear some people, I got a message like this once before, and I've seen this on forums and other places related to this chapter. I just want to mention this because I think it's kind of silly. Thinking about this particular idea some people have that's might happen or whatever. Some people think, oh, well, Ace isn't going to stay dead for long. This is One Piece. People don't die. They'll probably just find a devil fruit similar to Brooks and bring him back to life. Okay. I just have to say this now. I'm probably going to get so many hate emails because of this, but I'm just going to have to say it. Because this is what I honestly think about that. That would be using the devil fruits even more cheaply than they already are used in One Piece so far. Let's face facts. The devil fruit concept is just used very cheaply now in One Piece. I mean, look at the first chapters, and they're considered a myth because of how rare they are. Now, go all the way over to CP9, and they're talking about devil fruits as if they're the most common thing on the planet. Like the whole myth thing was just thrown out the window, And on top of that, it seems like everyone and their grandmother has a devil fruit. I thought these things were supposed to be rare to find. I mean, just look at all the enemies that the Straw Hats have ever faced, both marine and fellow pirates. Make a list and put a check mark on all of the names of the users who have devil fruits, and you're going to see that the list of devil fruit people is much higher than the ones that don't. I mean, the only characters I can think of off the top of my head right now who don't use devil fruits are Don Krieg, Arlong, Captain Kuro, a bunch of Billions members from Baroque's works, whoever that girl is who does that paint stuff. I don't think that's a devil fruit power. Yeah, there's just a very few characters they've fought that have devil fruits, and I'll cover this in the second part, sorry.